I'm just going to jump right on in with a Q&A, only because some of the answers might take a long time to explain. I'll try to keep it short, though. So question 1, do you like audiobooks? Yes and no. As an adult, I prefer to read hard copies, such as paperback, and sometimes I like ebooks. It all depends. But when I was younger, I did like audiobooks. I remember being part of this pony kind of club. I really loved horses when I was younger. And every month they would send horse trinkets, horse books, and audiobooks sometimes. And I still have those CDs of the audiobooks they would send, and I actually still remember them. And I really enjoyed it because they had sound effects and they had stuff that a kid would like to hear. Like, it was a soothing voice. It was like your mom was reading to you or something. But like I said, but not as an adult. If I want to read something, I'm going to sit down and really, really enjoy it. So, 2. What kind of character do you like writing about most? The villains. Hands down, it's always going to be the villains. And the reason for that is because they're the most challenging. Most people by nature are not going to be bad people unless for unusual circumstances. And I've never pictured myself as a bad guy. So I'd say that I find the villains are a fun challenge to write about because they're different. And especially the villains I write, they're from a different planet, usually. Not always, depending on how you look at it. And so I think that's my favorite part, because when you write about a main character who's the good person, who's the hero, that's stuff we normally see, that we normally expect. So I just find it unique because sometimes the villains, they'll say something of their own accord. They'll tell you what they're going to do, which can get really interesting sometimes. Number 3, do you hide secrets in your books that only few will find? Short answer, yes and no, again. When I was younger, my older books, they didn't have any real connections to them. There was no signature, if you will. My books were more kind of sporadic, kind of just me finding myself, finding my voice in that. But recently, I kind of accidentally started secrets, if you will. And it started with the Memories of Colonel Salas. I remember that I didn't even realize I was doing it until I finished the book and started on the prequel, actually. That in Memories of Colonel Salas, I left a lot of unanswered questions, which obviously was going to lead to the prequel. But even in the prequel, I added a certain element that you'll see once the prequel is out, that it's random. It really doesn't match so much, but I was kind of hinting at the next book after the prequel. I have a lot of stories lined up in my head, and so I guess every book has a secret to the next, which is going to be kind of interesting to see how the future plays out for that. So number 4, how much time do you spend writing each day? It all varies because of just, with normal life, work, with just general chores you gotta do. So it really all depends. If I'm in the editing stages, which I am right now for the prequel, if I'm in the editing stages, I have the tendency to go through the first draft completely, just go through it completely. And then I'll stop for a few days, give my brain a break, and then come back to it. But when I'm writing a book, I write straight through. Sometimes it'll be 3 hours a day, sometimes 5 hours a day, but I don't stop because I'm afraid if I stop, I'm going to forget what I'm writing. I know it sounds kind of strange, but that's kind of how my brain is, because my brain kind of goes all different directions, so I try to retain it to one spot when I'm writing. So sometimes hours, sometimes a half an hour, but I always try to keep it, I try to keep it consistent. Sometimes it doesn't always work though. And the next one is, what was the most valuable advice you've gotten from another author? Most important advice that stuck with me. I was at an author's expo not too long ago, and I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of them were seasoned authors, people who've been writing decades longer than I have. And there was just one woman whose table was right next to mine, and we definitely did not write the same genre. She wrote, I think, historical fiction, and I wrote science fiction. So it's fiction, but totally separate ends of the boat. But something that she said to me was, and there are 2 words, don't settle. And I know that seems kind of simple, like, okay, don't settle, like, it makes sense, but to me it was a very profound comment, because with me, I always want to do better than my best. And what she was really meaning was, if you're given offers, don't settle for the first offer. If people come up to you, say, hey, I got this really good deal, don't settle. Know your worth as a writer. And that has stuck with me, and I don't think I'll ever forget that. I think that'll constantly be with me, those 2 important words. So those would be, so far, I mean, I haven't met a lot of writers, but so far that is the most profound information and encouragement and advice that I have received.